Let's go. All right. Okay, so I'm a big podcast nerd. I like to go for long walks around my neighborhood and listen and learn. And a couple months ago, I was listening to a Mel Robbins podcast, and I learned a new statistic that 100% of our likability is based on 82% warmth and only 18% charisma. Now, my first thought was, that's a really heavy lean on charm. But that charisma formula also validates maybe a little bit of competence-based imposter syndrome in my past. But I moved on from that, and I started to think about, well, what does that mean for companies, right? Because this same formula actually works for company culture and brand. I mean, I've worked for companies that were oozing with charm, but were a hot mess in the background. I've also worked for companies that were really high on the competence scale, but were struggling to keep their employees engaged. So I started to think about this as we're all on the hook of attracting top talent and engaging that talent while they're in our workforce. So I was like, okay, who are these companies? Well, I introduced to you the Hot Mess. The Hot Mess company came up with it's coming up pretty soon. It came up with a good idea, probably has some decent funding. They recruit easily because they're a vibe. And it's also at the Hot Mess holiday party that you realized you probably should have instituted a 2-drink maximum because things are getting weird. But the Hot Mess company is all about excitement. Sales are on fire, but customers are churning due to lack of customer support. And then your employees are churning due to lack of sustainability. And HR is left with a hangover. So then you turn your sights to the snooze fest. And the snooze fest is all about standard operating procedures. They're safe and stable. There's SOPs flying all over the place. And do you know what else they have an SOP for? Wait, you guessed it. Mandatory fun. Honestly, these are the people that I would probably buy a keg for just to see what happens. But Snooze Fest did all the right things to begin with. They said all the right things, but their employees were falling asleep at the wheel and quiet quitting. So it's the companies that find balanced charisma that actually get creative and engaged employees that are getting stuff done. So as I'm walking, I'm starting to think about, okay, well, what do these companies do that actually find this balance? And how does HR help with that? Well, HR's biggest impact is based on really great people strategy. So I want to focus on a few things in my people strategy, and so I love a good acronym. So I came up with an acronym. I introduced to you SWAC. It's not whack, maybe a little hackish. Glad that landed with y'all, okay? SWAC number 1, storytelling. Stories bring warmth to your brand and connect your employees to your vision, your mission, your purpose. Storytelling can't be underestimated. It creates engagement. And speaking of engagement, it's time we start considering whole employee engagement. We hire diverse workforces. Now let's take care of them, where they are, what season of life are they in. Get them connected, get them in the circle, yeah, and take care of them, the whole employee. Now, how many times have you joined an organization and realized that you should have looked behind that curtain? Be authentic in your story, in your employer brand. If you're not authentic, this is beyond transparency, people will see through the bull. And I have to talk about core competencies. If you want to balance all that charm that you're creating, you have to focus on core competencies. You're not going to put an employee into a cage boxing match without the skills. You might, but that would be mean. So hire for the skills, train the rest. Okay, so as I'm finishing up my walk, yeah, I'm still walking, I'm starting to figure out, well, this company charisma formula is competence and it is warmth, but the output is so much more than likability. It's creating opportunity for massive growth, not just for your team, but for your company as a whole. And this is why it's so important for leaders to understand the importance of charisma as it pertains to an organization. So when charisma is on, you get sustainable growth, less burnout, quicker and better hiring, higher engagement, world peace and or domination, whatever your shtick, and your little HR heart's gonna be at peace. So my challenge to you all is to just start using the charisma formula in your people strategies. Once you start infusing charisma, your HR brand is going to be shining. Thank you.